Commissioner Victoria Bruce, you voted to not charge the developer $227,000. Explain that decision. This, of course, comes after the developer, it is clear, I think, paid the $149,000 arbor fee initially.
I'm going by the agreement, and the agreement states that it was for the project, which would have been the entire 45 acres, which is part of the legal description of the original agreement. The first modification of the agreement is a party to the original, and so if you look at the jargon of the agreement, and you're not going to dig back into all these emails, the agreement is what we need to go by. That's the legal binding developer's agreement that was signed 10 years ago, and that is what I'm justifying my response by.
Do you feel you had enough information at the June 23rd meeting to make that decision?
Only because of the developer's agreements that we were able to gain because we talked to the landowner, the applicant who is building. We were not given any information.
From city staff?
That's correct. Planning and zoning, they weren't given any information. If we were not made aware, we would have been blinded and had no idea of the other party's side. It was not presented to us. I had to ask questions in order to get it, or if it would just have been washed right over and no one would have known the specifics.
How did that happen? How does that happen at a city meeting?
It's a legal thing. The community development director didn't want to work with past developer agreements. It was more legal, so everybody's got their own department and nobody wants to talk to each other, and so it makes it a little bit ambiguous on what's going on. And so in my opinion, it was just the right hand not talking to the left hand.
Commissioner Baker had said after the fact at the meeting in July that she felt she was, and the commission was bullied by the developer, that you didn't have enough time to make a decision because the developer wanted an answer. Do you believe that? I
don't see it that way. I know that this project has been in the pipeline for 2 years, and so we finally got the information on a Friday when the meeting was on Monday, and so we're all just kind of trying to interpret this agreement, and to the best of our ability, seeing how the agreement was structured. To me, the mitigation that was paid 10 years ago was for the entire project and not just for the initial phase.
Mayor McCann showed us documents that he says clearly prove that the original project was only that small section, the 6 or so acres. He said it's clearly defined in the documentation that he showed us. He said that this was omitted. He said perhaps intentionally, perhaps inadvertently by the developer when the developer put up that contract on the screen. He said it was copied and pasted, and there were only certain parts of the original agreement and the amended agreement that were copied and pasted for you to see. Do you believe that that's the situation? Do you believe that there were parts of agreements that were not presented to you at the meeting?
I do not. I have both agreements. I have them both on victoriaforwintersprings.com. You can read them all for yourself and get your own opinion, but you can just read the language and interpret for yourself. But it's clear as day to me that it was for the entire project. And the arbor fee, it says final adjusted fee. And there was a lot of things that went into adjusting it with the roads and the stormwater and all these different particulars that encompass the entire project in these agreements.
So despite the documentation that the mayor showed us that he says he has now discovered, you still believe that the original $149,000 arbor fee paid covered all future phases of this project?
Unfortunately, the agreement will trump any emails 10 years ago, and so I'm basing all of my votes and responses based off of that binding developer agreement from 2015 and 2017, the original and the first modification. And if you read them, it's clear as day that it's for the entire project.
So at this next meeting, you're not going to be changing your vote?
I will not.
You heard the mayor mention what he thought was a dangerous precedent with commissioners meeting with the developer or a representative of the developer, in this case a former mayor of Winter Springs, before the vote. We heard at the July 11th meeting that the mayor started to explain his Facebook post. Commissioner Caruso jumped in and said, "Mayor, you're questioning our ethics." I'm paraphrasing here. Is the mayor questioning your ethics?
Yes, and ex parte communications are allowed. They poo-pooed it prior to 2022, but when I got elected, we dissolved that ordinance and allowed for ex parte communications so you can talk to developers or applicants or landowners as such in this scenario, so you can get both sides of the story. And if you just get one side, sometimes you're not getting the full picture, and that's a clear example of this situation.
The mayor says it's a bad look. You obviously don't believe that.
Is a terrible look, and this is political posturing to make someone like me look bad, and he is trying to position himself for next year's election. He has not been active on Facebook for the past 3 years, and now all of a sudden he's posting about controversial subjects. So it's clear as day to me that this is basically just to get everybody rallied up, and it's a political posturing situation. These trees will be taken down regardless, and it's just basically a matter of money. And I want more money for the city more than anybody, but I'm not going to rob somebody. I'm not going to steal it to get it. And in my professional opinion, this money had been paid for 10 years ago, and now they're asking for it to be paid again. And this has already been taken care of. And so now they put it in my hands to interpret an agreement 10 years ago that is ambiguous.
The mayor says he intentionally does not meet with developers before votes because, again, he thinks it's a bad look. He thinks it's a bad idea. It sounds like what you're saying, you believe it's exactly the opposite.
Absolutely. And the storage unit is a perfect example of that. If we don't meet with our partners, we will get bad projects. If we meet with our partners, especially the town center, this is a high diversification, long-term plan. And if we can't work amicably with them, nobody's going to want to develop or be a part of our city. And so they're our most important partners, and I feel having a dialogue open with them is incredibly important. And from what I learned from the Seminole County officials, they taught me that if you can have ex parte communications, but you have to document it correctly, which I did, and also make sure that everything's on the up and up, and that you clearly explain it on the dais, and also do written documentation with the clerk. And then it's all on board. And that's what the other 500 municipalities do as well. As far as not talking to developers, that was a Winter Springs ordinance that no longer applies.
The city attorney said at the June 23rd meeting that he was afraid of the precedent that this might set, the vote to not charge the developer the $227,000. Is this setting a precedent? Is this telling developers there's room to not pay arbor fees in the future?
No, this agreement, this money was paid for the entire project. The legal description in the agreement says 45 acres, which to me would show that it was for the entire project. This is a legal interpretation, and the project the money was not waived, it was paid. And it was paid back in 2018. And there were a lot of discounts made because of all the different things that were done as far as the stormwater and the roadway, and lots of different activities that were transportation impacts that were discounting that fund that was determined back in 2017.
So this vote will not affect future developments and future arbor fees, you're saying?
Other than the one parcel of land that will come that that will have townhomes as well. That same parcel, it would set a precedent for that project, but other than that, no, because it's part of this project.
You're saying the original project has several phases?
Yes,
and
there's one more.
Okay, and that one will not be charged an additional arbor fee if your vote holds?
That's correct.
Okay. Commissioner Bruce, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to say? I want to give you an opportunity that I didn't ask.
Nope, just www.Victoria for Winter Springs. You can find my blogs there, and the both agreements are there for your reading pleasure to make your own decision.
Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you.